The Galactic voted to exile Earth. Humanity chose to leave on its own terms. The Galactic Council had gathered again. It was not the first time humans had faced their judgment, but this time it felt different. The chambers were huge, with walls that glowed faintly and towers that seemed to reach forever. Representatives from hundreds of planets, hundreds of species, filled the room. Some were tall, others short, some with shimmering skin, some with wings or claws. Every one of them had watched humanity grow for centuries, sometimes with fear, sometimes with curiosity, and now with irritation. John Carter stood quietly in the human delegation area. He was not the youngest human there, nor the most important, but he had been chosen to observe. Beside him, Lisa Brown, one of the lead diplomats, adjusted her jacket and looked out at the council. She was calm, but her eyes were sharp, scanning every movement. John felt a tightness in his chest. He had expected arguments, protests, maybe even insults, but nothing could have prepared him for the news they were about to hear. A tall, green-skinned representative with a voice that sounded like wind through metal stepped forward. "Earth," it said, "your people have been judged. Your unpredictable actions, your wars, your rapid growth in technology, your resistance to council orders, we cannot allow this to continue. The council has voted. Earth will be exiled. You will leave this sector, and you will not return unless granted permission by the council." The words fell like stones. John could feel the weight of them in the pit of his stomach. Lisa's hand briefly touched his arm, a small gesture to steady him. Around them, other humans whispered. Some gasped. Others stared in silence. The council did not wait for a response. The vote had been made and the decision was final. But instead of panic, the human delegation did something unusual. They did not shout, they did not beg, they did not collapse. John noticed that in every face there was a strange mix of calm and determination. Lisa stood straight-backed, her hands folded. She met the eyes of the council members. "We understand," she said simply. "We will leave, but we will do so on our own terms," the council murmured. Some species leaned forward, surprised by the human composure. They had expected fear, maybe anger, but not this quiet defiance. John felt a strange pride. The humans were not powerless, even in the face of exile. After the council meeting ended, John, Lisa, and the other humans returned to their ship. The journey back to Earth was tense. No one spoke much at first. Outside the viewports, stars streaked past in long lines. Some of the younger humans, people who had never been to the council chambers before, whispered to each other about what they had seen. "We're exiled," one said softly. "Does that mean we're criminals?" Lisa shook her head. "No, it means they do not control us. We are free to choose our path. That is more than most species can say." John looked out at the stars. He thought about Earth, about the cities, the oceans, the forests. All of it now at the mercy of a council that had already decided humanity was dangerous. But he also felt something new, a spark of possibility. If humans could not stay, then maybe they could go. Maybe they could leave not as fugitives but as explorers. By the time they reached Earth orbit, the news of the exile had already spread. Satellites, news networks, and government channels were alive with discussion. People across the world gathered in parks, on streets, in homes, looking up at the sky. They did not scream. They did not panic. Many cried quietly, but most looked thoughtful. The vote of the Galactic Council had been harsh, but humanity had a choice. Alex Turner, a commander in the Space Forces, was already in the war room. He had been tracking the situation from the moment the Council voted. Beside him, Maria Hill, a scientist and strategist, reviewed star charts and ship designs. "We can't wait for them to give us permission," Alex said. "We have to decide now." Maria nodded. "If we leave on our own terms, we control the journey. We control what kind of civilization we become. We can survive this and maybe even thrive." Plans began to form quickly. The first step was to build ships capable of carrying millions of humans. They needed food, water, oxygen, and energy for years of travel. Scientists, engineers, and workers all came together. It was not easy. Resources were stretched. Political leaders debated. But slowly, piece by piece, a fleet began to take shape. At the same time, John and Lisa worked to communicate with other human leaders, those in government, military, and scientific sectors. They needed unity. Disagreement could destroy their chance to leave successfully. It was not just a matter of building ships. It was a matter of building trust, of convincing everyone that humanity could act together, even in exile. Meanwhile, the galaxy watched. Other species, some curious, some wary, tracked Earth's preparations. Rumors spread. Could humans really leave on their own? Could they survive without the Council's protection? Some Council members even doubted the wisdom of their own vote. Exiling humanity might have been a mistake. The humans seemed calm, organized, and focused in a way no one expected. On Earth, families began to prepare. People who had never left their homes now learned to work with others, to understand technology, to train for life in space. Children studied navigation and engineering. Adults learned farming and medicine in closed systems. Everyone had a role. There was fear, of course, but it was mixed with determination. Humans were not giving up. They were preparing to take their future into their own hands. John walked through a shipyard one evening, watching engineers attach the final panels to a massive transport vessel. Claire White, one of the ship captains, waved at him. "You think the Council expected this?" she asked, half smiling. John shook his head. "No, they thought we would beg, they thought we would fight each other. They didn't expect us to decide." Claire nodded. "Maybe that's our advantage. They don't understand humans." Lisa came up behind them. "We have to be ready for anything. Leaving is one thing, surviving is another. And we have to make sure everyone, every human, understands that." As days turned into weeks, the fleet grew. Ships of all sizes were built, from small scout vessels to huge colony transports. Materials were gathered from Earth's surface and space stations. Every new launch was met with cheers from those who watched. It was not just a fleet, it was a symbol. Humanity had been judged and found dangerous, and they were responding not with fear but with preparation. Even as the fleet expanded, there were doubts. Some humans questioned whether leaving was the right choice. Could they survive the journey? What about other civilizations in the galaxy? But the leaders, John, Lisa, Alex, Maria, Claire, and others, kept a steady course. They reminded everyone that this was not defeat. This was freedom. They had the chance to shape their destiny, free from the restrictions and judgment of the Council. One night, John stood on a balcony overlooking a launch site. A small ship lifted slowly into the sky, its engines glowing against the darkness. People cheered below, waving and clapping. John felt a lump in his throat. Humans had been given exile, a sentence meant to punish them. And yet they were not running. They were moving forward with strength, with unity, with hope. Lisa joined him, her expression calm but thoughtful. "They will watch us," she said. "They will wait to see if we fail, but we won't. We are human, that is enough." John nodded. "It feels strange, proud but strange. We are being forced out, and yet I feel like we are choosing something greater than before." The first wave of ships prepared for launch. Families said goodbye to Earth, not in despair but with anticipation. The people who left were pioneers, adventurers, and leaders. And as the engines ignited and the ships rose, John realized something. Humanity was not going to disappear. Not quietly, not anywhere. They would leave, yes, but on their own terms. Above Earth, the stars stretched endlessly. Below, the cities glimmered with lights. John took a deep breath and looked at the horizon. The Council's vote had been clear. Humanity was exiled, but humans had made a decision of their own. They would leave, not as fugitives, not as victims, but as a civilization taking its first step toward a new future. And that future, John thought, would be theirs. Earth was quiet in the early hours. The first wave of ships had already left, and the humans remaining were busy preparing for the next phase. Cities were calm, but the air buzzed with energy and purpose. Every person knew their role. Some were engineers, some were pilots, some were teachers, scientists, or medical workers. Everyone was needed, and everyone was important. Alex Turner walked through one of the largest shipyards, his eyes scanning every vessel. He was joined by Maria Hill, who carried a tablet filled with star maps, ship designs, and schedules. "The Council thinks we are weak," Alex said, his voice low. "They do not understand what we are capable of." Maria smiled faintly. "We don't need them to understand. We only need ourselves." The fleet that humanity was building was unlike anything seen before. Not just ships for war, but vessels that could sustain life for years in space. Some were massive, housing thousands of people, farms, and even small forests inside enclosed biodomes. Others were smaller, fast ships for scouting and communication. Every vessel was designed with care, built for survival and independence. Claire White, one of the lead captains, walked alongside them. "The engineers are doing their best," she said. "They're making faster engines, better shields, and systems that can last for decades. We'll be ready sooner than expected." John Carter joined them, carrying a small pack. "I've been talking with the families," he said. "Everyone is nervous, but they're also ready. People want to leave on their own terms. That's what keeps them calm. It's a strange feeling, but it works." As preparations continued, the humans began to make plans beyond Earth. They needed a destination. While the Council had exiled them, there was still space to explore. Maria showed a map of nearby star systems. "We cannot go too far at first," she said. "We need systems we can survive in, with planets we can use for resources. Some of these stars are safe, others are dangerous. We'll take the safer routes first." Alex nodded. "We will explore and establish outposts. Then we can decide how far to go. We are not running. We are moving forward." Families packed their belongings. Children said goodbye to the only homes they had ever known. Some hugged their parents tightly, others stayed quiet, staring at the ships that would carry them into the unknown. The mood was tense, but there was also hope. This was not just escape. This was opportunity. Meanwhile, the galaxy watched. Sensors from other planets tracked the humans' movements. Some were curious, others fearful. Reports reached the Council, warning that the humans were preparing more than expected. They were building fleets, not hiding. The Council had thought that exiling Earth would keep humans small and weak. Now it seemed it might have the opposite effect. Back on Earth, Maria and Alex led a team to one of the newest ships. It was enormous, its hull shining under the sun, engines ready for launch. "This ship will carry 10,000 people," Maria said. "It has farms, water recycling, medical facilities, and its own energy supply. It can survive years in space." Claire White walked around the deck checking equipment. "And it's just one of many. Each ship is designed for a purpose, some for exploration, some for transport, some for defense. Humans are preparing for everything." John watched the crew. Young men and women trained tirelessly, learning how to operate engines, repair systems, and navigate the stars. Children were taught basic engineering and survival skills. Even the elderly were included, helping in planning, teaching, or guiding younger generations. Humanity was not leaving behind anyone. Everyone mattered. As launch day approached, leaders met in a central command room. Alex, Maria, John, Lisa, and Claire discussed the final steps. "The first wave has shown that we can leave safely," Lisa said. "Now we need to prepare the next ships. They must be ready to launch on schedule." Alex studied the screens. "We also need to make sure we have communication with the ships already in space. They must report back on conditions and any unexpected problems. Coordination is key." Maria pointed to a map. "The first route will take us through neutral space. No Council forces are there. After that, we will decide if we go further. The important thing is survival and unity. If we split too soon, we risk everything." In the shipyards, people worked day and night. Engineers welded metal, programmers updated systems, and farmers tested hydroponic equipment. Ships were launched regularly, each one carrying hundreds or thousands of humans. The sky was filled with smoke and light as engines roared, lifting humanity off Earth and into the unknown. Children waved from observation decks. Families hugged and cheered. Some wept quietly, but most were filled with determination. Humanity was not fleeing in fear. They were leaving with purpose. Claire White stood on the bridge of one of the largest ships. She watched Earth shrink in the distance. "It's strange," she said. "We are leaving our home, but it doesn't feel like loss. It feels like taking control." John nodded beside her. "That's the difference. Other species think we are weak because we can be unpredictable, but we are also capable of unity. That's why we survive." Meanwhile, Maria monitored communications with the fleet. Reports came in from scouts and explorers. Some found asteroids and small planets suitable for resources. Others encountered empty systems where they could train for life in deep space. Every report was shared with command and every decision was made carefully. Humanity was learning fast. Alex entered the control room. "The Council expects chaos," he said, speaking to the group. "They think we will fail, that we cannot survive without them. They are wrong. Humanity adapts, humanity fights, and humanity plans." Lisa smiled faintly. "They never understand us. Maybe that is why we are still alive. Maybe that is why we will continue to grow." As the months passed, Earth became less crowded. Thousands of humans had already left, traveling in organized fleets. The people left behind were busy building, preparing, and learning. New leaders emerged in every city and sector. Coordination was difficult, but it worked. Every person had a job, every person had a purpose. One evening, John walked with Claire and Maria along a launch platform. Below, a ship rose slowly, its engines burning bright. The crowd cheered. Children waved, parents hugged, and the older generation smiled quietly. The humans on the ship looked down at Earth one last time. Some had tears, but most had hope. They were leaving because they chose to, not because they were forced. Claire turned to John. "Do you think the Council expected this?" John shook his head. "No, they thought we would beg, they thought we would fight. But they didn't expect us to take the lead ourselves. They didn't expect humans to choose their own future." Maria added, "And that is the key. We are not leaving because we have to. We are leaving because we can, because we decide. That is our strength." In the sky above, more ships prepared for launch. Thousands of humans were now in space, traveling together, learning how to survive. Each day brought new challenges. Engines needed repair, food systems needed adjustment, and navigation was never easy. But humans were patient, careful, and determined. One scout ship returned with news of a small planet rich in resources. Alex, Maria, and John studied the data carefully. "This could be a good start," Alex said. "A place to test life in isolation, away from the Council. We can build, grow, and learn without interference." Maria nodded. "Exactly. We are not hiding. We are preparing. One step at a time, we will create a future where humans can survive anywhere." Children on the ships learned quickly. They studied navigation, engineering, and science. Adults taught them not only skills but also discipline, patience, and courage. Families worked together. Communities formed within the ships. Humanity was not just surviving, it was thriving, even in exile. As weeks became months, the fleet grew stronger. Humans learned how to communicate efficiently over long distances, how to manage resources, and how to maintain order in a floating civilization. The galaxy outside watched with curiosity. Other species began to whisper that perhaps exiling Earth had been a mistake. Humans were not fleeing. Humans were growing. Alex looked at the charts one night. "They will not expect what comes next," he said quietly. "We are preparing for the future, and the future is ours." John, standing beside him, smiled. "It feels strange to leave everything behind, but it feels right. We are human, we survive, we grow, and we choose our own path. The stars stretched endlessly in front of them. Humanity, exiled by the Council, was moving forward not in fear but with determination. Ships continued to lift from Earth, and each launch was a promise. Humans would not be controlled, they would not be broken, and they would survive. Every person, from the youngest child to the oldest leader, understood the truth. Exile was not the end. It was the beginning. The beginning of a journey that would take humanity far beyond Earth, far beyond the galaxy that judged them, and into the unknown where they would define their own future. And so, with engines burning and hope in their hearts, humanity moved together, step by step, into the stars, leaving the Council to wonder what they had truly set in motion. The fleet moved through space in an organized pattern, each ship keeping in formation. Humans had learned quickly how to communicate and navigate in the void. John Carter stood on the bridge of one of the largest vessels, watching the stars stretch past at incredible speeds. It was quiet, almost peaceful, but he knew that any mistake could be costly. Claire White, captain of the ship, walked alongside him. "Do you ever feel small out here?" she asked quietly. "The stars make everything seem tiny, and yet we are trying to carry an entire civilization with us." John shook his head. "I don't feel small, I feel alive. Every step we take, every system we stabilize, every new star we pass, those are victories. We are not just moving through space. We are learning, growing, surviving. That is something no one can take from us." Below, families in their living quarters were adjusting to life in microgravity. Children floated from one place to another, their laughter echoing in the wide halls. Adults monitored the food systems, repaired minor damages, and taught lessons on navigation and science. Every person had a role, and every role mattered. Humanity was proving that it could work together even in the most challenging conditions. On one of the scout ships, Alex Turner and Maria Hill were observing a nearby system. A small planet orbited a yellow star, with rocky surfaces and patches of water. "It could support a colony," Maria said, pointing to the data. "If we send a team down, we could test farming and resource gathering. It would be safer than traveling further without supplies." Alex nodded. "Prepare a small landing party. Send engineers, scientists, and a few guards. The rest of the fleet will stay in orbit. We need to make sure it is safe before committing more ships." The landing party, led by Claire White, descended in a small shuttle. The planet's surface was harsh but manageable. Rocky terrain stretched for miles, and small lakes reflected the light of the star above. The team set up equipment, tested soil for farming, and measured the atmosphere. Children on the shuttle learned quickly, helping where they could, carrying tools and observing the scientists at work. Back in orbit, John and Lisa monitored the operation. Communications came through clearly. "Conditions are good," Claire reported. "The planet can support life, at least temporarily. We can grow crops, filter water, and set up shelter. It's not perfect, but it's enough for now." Lisa smiled. "This is exactly what we needed. A step forward, a test. Humans are good at adapting, and this proves it." As the fleet continued to explore, other species began to take notice. Sensors detected the ships, and messages were sent to nearby civilizations. Some were curious. Some were concerned. The Galactic Council itself was puzzled. They had exiled Earth, expecting fear, chaos, or rebellion. Instead, they saw order, discipline, and efficiency. Humans were moving with purpose, not panic. On one of the larger ships, John walked through the corridors, observing life in the fleet. People worked, studied, and played. Children learned together. Adults helped each other. Even the elderly contributed by teaching skills or guiding younger generations. Humanity was not just surviving, it was thriving. Maria Hill joined him. "Do you think they understand yet?" she asked. "The Council, the other species, they think we are weak. They think exile will break us, but we are proving them wrong every day." John nodded. "They will see eventually. They already are in small ways." They cannot ignore what we are building here. A civilization that moves together, grows together, and survives together. That is our strength. Meanwhile, small problems began to appear, as expected in any long journey. Some food systems failed temporarily, requiring repairs. Minor accidents occurred in zero gravity. Communications occasionally lagged, but every problem was solved quickly. Humans learned from each mistake and shared knowledge across the fleet. Mistakes were not disasters, they were lessons. Claire White led a repair team on one of the transport ships. "We need to fix the energy conduits before they fail completely," she said. "If we do not, the life support systems could shut down." The team worked efficiently, floating in the narrow corridors, connecting wires and testing systems. Children watched and helped in small ways, passing tools and observing closely. Within hours, the problem was solved. The ship systems hummed steadily and life continued without interruption. John observed this and felt a sense of pride. Humans were not just surviving, they were mastering their environment. The Council had thought Earth was fragile, dependent, and chaotic. Now humans were proving that they were disciplined, adaptable, and united. On the Scout planet, Claire's team set up a small settlement. Tents and biodomes provided shelter. Small gardens began to grow. Water recycling systems worked efficiently. Children helped plant crops and monitor small animals brought for food and study. Every day brought new discoveries about the planet and its possibilities. Back in orbit, Alex Turner coordinated with the other ships. "We need to continue mapping nearby systems," he said. "We cannot rely solely on one planet. The galaxy is vast, and we must understand our options before committing more people." Maria added, "We also need to train more people in piloting and engineering. Life in space requires everyone to contribute. The more skilled people we have, the safer we all are." Communication channels buzzed constantly. Scout ships reported on asteroids, gas clouds, and other planets. Engineers shared new designs for faster engines, stronger shields, and more efficient life support. Teachers and scientists developed educational programs for children and adults alike. Every person had a purpose, and the fleet functioned like a single organism. John Carter spent time observing the children. They were learning quickly, understanding navigation, engineering, and survival. Unlike the Council's predictions, humanity was not fragile. Humans adapted to every challenge and found solutions that often surprised even the leaders. Lisa Brown approached John. "The Council thinks we are small, weak, and chaotic," she said. "They are wrong. They underestimated the most important thing about humans. We do not just survive. We grow, we adapt, and we unite. That is why we can leave on our own terms." As the fleet continued its journey, they faced a new challenge. A small group of Council scouts approached, curious about the human ships. They were far from aggressive, but their presence was a test. The Council wanted to see if humanity would panic or fight. Alex Turner called a meeting. "We cannot let fear control us," he said. "These scouts are here because they are curious, not because they are hostile. We will respond with calm. We will communicate. We will show that humans can act responsibly." Claire White led a team to establish contact. "This is Human Command," she said over communications. "We are traveling through space to establish our future. We do not wish to fight. We only ask for distance and respect." The Council scouts responded with surprise. They had expected panic, confusion, or aggression. Instead, they found humans calm, organized, and polite. After several hours of discussion, the scouts withdrew, reporting back that humanity was behaving in ways no one expected. John watched this unfold and felt a sense of satisfaction. Humans were showing the galaxy that exile did not mean weakness. Humans were strong, disciplined, and capable. They did not need the Council's permission to survive. As weeks turned into months, the fleet continued to explore and expand. More planets were scouted, more systems mapped. Humans learned quickly, adapting to each new challenge. Engineers improved systems, teachers educated children, and leaders coordinated resources. Humanity was thriving in exile. Even the children learned the lessons of courage and unity. They were not afraid of space, of challenges, or of the unknown. They were learning how to navigate the stars, how to solve problems, and how to contribute to the survival of their species. Maria Hill spoke to John one evening on the observation deck. "They do not understand yet," she said. "The Council, the other species, they think they control the galaxy, but humans will show them that control is not just about power. It is about unity, adaptability, and intelligence." John nodded. "And we will. One day they will realize that exiling us was not punishment, it was underestimating us." In orbit above the Scout planet, Claire White and her team celebrated small victories. Crops were growing, shelters were stable, and children were learning. The planet was not perfect, but it was a start. Humanity had survived the first challenge in space. They were no longer just fleeing. They were building, learning, and growing stronger every day. The stars stretched endlessly in front of them. Humans continued their journey, step by step, system by system, planet by planet. They faced challenges, solved problems, and adapted to every obstacle. The Council had thought they were fragile. The galaxy had expected fear. Humanity had given something else entirely: calm, discipline, unity, and the first hints of a power that would one day surprise everyone. And so, as ships lifted, children learned, and leaders planned, humanity moved forward in exile, proving that they did not need permission, that they did not need approval, and that they could survive and thrive on their own terms. Months passed, and the human fleet continued to grow stronger. Ships moved with precision, systems ran smoothly, and the people had adapted to life in space better than anyone had expected. Every day brought new discoveries and new challenges, but humanity handled them all with calm and intelligence. On one of the largest ships, John Carter walked along the observation deck. He watched smaller scout ships leave and return, each carrying reports of new star systems, planets, and resources. Children floated by in zero gravity, practicing navigation simulations and engineering exercises. Engineers adjusted engines and shields while sharing new designs with other ships. Every person, no matter how young or old, contributed in some way. Maria Hill approached him with a tablet in hand. "The scouts have found something interesting," she said. "A gas giant in a nearby system has unusual energy readings. It might be possible to harvest energy from it for our fleet. If we can, we could make our ships more self-sufficient." John nodded. "Humans have always been curious. We find a challenge and we solve it. That is why we survive. That is why we will continue to grow." Meanwhile, Claire White was leading an expedition to a rocky planet in another system. The planet was small and dry, but the team found minerals that could be used to strengthen the fleet's ships. Small robots and drones helped mine the resources while humans oversaw the process. Children watched and learned, fascinated by the technology and the possibilities. Back on the fleet's main ship, Alex Turner coordinated efforts. "We need to make sure every ship has access to these resources," he said. "We cannot waste time. The faster we learn to use the galaxy's resources, the stronger we become." Lisa Brown looked at the star charts. "Other species will notice what we are doing soon. The Council already underestimated us once. They will start paying attention when they see our progress." John smiled. "Let them watch. That is exactly what we want. We are not hiding. We are showing the galaxy that humans can survive, and more than that, we can thrive. They cannot control us and they cannot predict us." As the fleet continued its work, new technologies began to emerge. Engineers developed engines that used the energy from stars and gas giants, making ships faster and more efficient. Life support systems improved, allowing humans to survive longer on planets with harsh conditions. Communication systems became more advanced, allowing instant coordination across hundreds of ships. Every improvement made the fleet stronger and more independent. On the Scout planet, Claire White observed a small group of humans testing a new energy system. "If this works," she said, "we could power the fleet for years without relying on Earth or any other planet. We would be self-sufficient." Children watched the test eagerly, asking questions and learning about energy, engineering, and science. The adults answered patiently, teaching them not only the how, but the why. Every lesson was part of preparing the next generation to survive and thrive. Meanwhile, reports reached the fleet that a nearby council patrol had detected human ships in space. They were not hostile, but they were curious. The council expected fear, confusion, or aggression. Instead, they found humans calm, organized, and prepared. The patrol reported back that humans were stronger than expected, disciplined, and clearly capable of handling life in space without guidance. Alex Turner addressed the fleet. "The Council is watching. Other species are watching. They want to see if we fail, but we will not. We have learned to survive in ways they never imagined. We adapt, we grow, we unite. That is our advantage." John Carter looked out at the stars. "They think they know us. They do not. They never have. They think they can exile us, control us, or predict us. They are wrong. Humans are more than they realize." On another planet, Maria Hill and a group of scientists were studying a rare mineral found in the surface rocks. The mineral could be used to build stronger hulls for ships, making them more resistant to damage. They carefully collected samples and tested them in portable labs aboard the fleet. Claire White reported back to Alex, "The materials are stable. They can be used for ship construction. This will make our fleet stronger and safer. We can expand further without fear." Alex nodded. "Good, prepare the next phase. We will continue exploring, gathering resources, and building strength. The Council thinks exile will weaken us. We will show them otherwise." As humans moved deeper into space, they discovered more planets, asteroids, and star systems. Each discovery brought new challenges, but also new opportunities. Engineers developed portable habitats for planets with harsh conditions. Scientists created methods to extract water, grow crops, and produce energy in hostile environments. Children learned alongside adults, gaining knowledge and skills that would serve the fleet for years to come. John Carter observed one of the scout teams. "Look at them," he said to Lisa. "They are learning to survive anywhere. Earth trained them well, but space is teaching them more. They are growing stronger every day." Lisa smiled. "That is what humans do. We do not give up. We do not fear challenges. We face them and we become better because of them." Meanwhile, tensions in the galaxy began to rise. Other species watched humanity's fleet with increasing concern. Exiling Earth had been meant to control humans, but it had instead created a civilization that could survive independently, adapt to any environment, and grow stronger every day. Rumors spread that humans were building technology faster than expected, and that their fleet could operate without outside help. On the main ship, Alex Turner gathered the fleet's leaders. "The galaxy is noticing us," he said. "We must continue to grow, learn, and improve. We are not hiding, we are preparing. We will survive, and one day others will understand our strength." Claire White spoke next. "We must also train more pilots, engineers, and scientists. Our fleet will only be as strong as the people who operate it. We need every hand, every mind, and every skill." Maria Hill added, "We are also teaching our children. They are learning to think critically, solve problems, and adapt. The next generation will be even stronger than this one." John Carter looked at the leaders. "Exile was meant to weaken us. Instead, it has given us purpose. We are stronger, more united, and more capable than ever before. That is something the Council did not expect." As months turned into years, humans expanded their fleet further. They discovered systems rich in resources, planets suitable for farming, and asteroids filled with valuable minerals. Every discovery was shared across the fleet, every improvement was implemented fleet-wide. Humanity was becoming not just a survivor, but a civilization that could thrive anywhere in the galaxy. On one of the scout planets, Claire White oversaw the construction of a small colony. People worked together to build homes, grow food, and create a stable environment. Children learned engineering and science by participating in real projects. Adults shared knowledge and experience, teaching survival skills and problem-solving. The colony was small, but it was a model for what humanity could achieve anywhere. Alex Turner monitored communications across the fleet. "The Council thinks exile will limit us," he said. "They think they have removed humans from the galaxy. They are wrong. We are growing, learning, and adapting, and soon they will realize their mistake." Meanwhile, John Carter observed life on the ships. People worked, played, and studied together. Children learned navigation, engineering, and science. Adults managed resources, repaired systems, and taught skills. Every day brought new lessons, new improvements, and new hope. Humanity was thriving in exile, stronger than ever. Lisa Brown spoke to John one evening. "They underestimated us," she said. "They thought exile would break us. Instead, it has made us stronger, more united, and more capable. Humans do not survive by chance. We survive by choice," John nodded. "And that choice will define us. We are learning to survive in ways no one expected. We are becoming more than just humans from Earth. We are becoming something greater." As the fleet continued to explore, humans discovered new technologies, resources, and ways to survive in harsh environments. They built engines that used energy from stars, improved shields, and created self-sustaining habitats. Children learned alongside adults, gaining knowledge and skills that would serve the fleet for generations. The galaxy watched, and slowly, quietly, began to realize that humans were not the weak species they had assumed. Exile had created something unexpected, a civilization capable of surviving anywhere, thriving anywhere, and adapting to any challenge. And so, humanity moved forward, step by step, system by system, planet by planet. They had been exiled, yes, but they had taken that exile and turned it into strength. They were no longer just humans from Earth. They were a growing, thriving civilization, proving every day that exile could not stop them. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and humanity continued its journey, not in fear, but in strength. Every challenge was met with intelligence, every problem solved with unity, and every day brought new opportunities. The Council had thought they were punishing humanity. Instead, they were creating a species that would one day be unstoppable. Years had passed since humanity had first left Earth. The fleet had grown, evolved, and explored countless star systems. Children who had been born on ships now led small teams, learning navigation, engineering, and science as naturally as breathing. Adults had become masters of survival, building colonies, refining technology, and creating self-sustaining habitats wherever they went. Humanity had not only survived exile, they had become stronger than anyone in the galaxy had imagined. John Carter stood on the bridge of one of the largest vessels in the fleet, looking out at a distant cluster of stars. The formation of ships around him gleamed against the darkness of space. It was no longer just a fleet of transport and scout ships. It was a fleet capable of defending itself, of building, and of thriving in any environment. Humans had discovered energy sources, mastered self-sustaining life systems, and perfected technology that rivaled anything the Council had ever seen. Claire White approached him, her face calm but thoughtful. "Do you think they will recognize us when we return?" she asked. John smiled. "Some of them might, most won't, but it doesn't matter. We are not returning to ask permission or to prove anything. We are returning to show that humans choose their own path. We have grown while they underestimated us." Alex Turner joined them. "Reports from scouts show that Council fleets are nearby. They have noticed our activity at the edge of their territory. They expect us to be weak, scattered, or afraid. They will be surprised. Lisa Brown, standing near the communication console, added, "We are stronger, more united, and more capable than ever. Every system we've explored, every colony we've built, every child we've trained, this is proof that exile could not stop us. Humans were never meant to be controlled. They were meant to grow." The fleet moved steadily toward the inner systems of the galaxy. As they approached, sensors detected Council patrols. These patrols were cautious, observing from a distance. They had not expected to see a fleet so large, so well coordinated, and so advanced. The reports sent back to the Council caused confusion and concern. Exiling Earth had not weakened humans. It had allowed them to become stronger, faster, and more disciplined than anyone had predicted. On one of the scout ships, Maria Hill observed the Council fleets. "They don't understand us," she said quietly. "They think we are the same humans they exiled years ago. They don't realize we have changed. We have learned, adapted, and become stronger than ever. They cannot control us now." John Carter nodded. "We have not returned for war, not for revenge. We have returned to show that humans can survive, thrive, and grow on their own terms." Claire White prepared the fleet for cautious approach. Ships were arranged in formation, ready for defense if needed, but not in an aggressive posture. Humanity did not seek conflict. They sought acknowledgement of their strength and independence. The Council watched as the human fleet moved closer. Messages were sent, demanding that humans explain themselves. Humans responded calmly, clearly stating their purpose. They had been exiled, yes, but they had survived, grown, and now returned on their own terms. They would not ask for permission. They would not beg for approval. They were a civilization that had learned to thrive without interference. For the first time, some Council members realized the truth. Humanity had been underestimated. Exile had not weakened them. It had allowed them to develop discipline, intelligence, and unity beyond anything the Council had expected. Humans were no longer just a planet. They were a growing civilization capable of surviving anywhere. Alex Turner addressed the fleet. "Remember why we are here. Not to fight, not to conquer, but to show the galaxy that humans can survive and thrive. We have grown while they underestimated us. Today, we prove that exile could not stop us." John Carter walked through the corridors, observing the people of the fleet. Children practiced navigation, adults repaired systems, and engineers worked on improving engines and shields. Every person contributed. Humanity's strength was not just in its technology or numbers, but in its unity, discipline, and determination. As they entered the outer systems, humans began to make contact with smaller civilizations. These civilizations had watched the human fleet and were curious. Some had feared Earth's people. Some had doubted their ability to survive exile. Now they saw a civilization that was organized, disciplined, and advanced. Humans shared knowledge, technology, and resources, forming alliances and friendships. Humanity's return was not a threat. It was a demonstration of what a species could achieve when given the freedom to choose its own path. On one of the lead ships, Claire White spoke to John Carter. "Do you think the Council understands yet?" she asked. John shook his head. "Some will, some won't. It doesn't matter. We are not here for their understanding. We are here for ourselves. We have survived. We have grown. We have thrived. That is enough." As the fleet approached the inner systems, Council leaders sent emissaries to meet with humans. John, Lisa, Alex, Maria, and Claire represented humanity. The emissaries arrived cautiously, expecting fear or weakness. Instead, they found humans calm, organized, and confident. One of the Council emissaries spoke. "Humans, you have returned. Explain your actions." "Why have you come back?" John stepped forward. "We were exiled, yes. You judged us dangerous and unpredictable. We accepted your decision, but we did not wait for your permission. We left, explored, and grew. We have survived and thrived." We have learned to live in space, to create self-sustaining systems, and to build a civilization that does not rely on your control. We return not to ask for permission, but to show that humanity chooses its own path. The council emissaries were silent. They had not expected this. They had expected fear, chaos, or rebellion. Instead, they saw calm, unity, and strength. They realized that exile had not punished humanity. It had created a civilization capable of surviving anywhere in the galaxy. Lisa Brown added, "We do not seek war. We do not seek conflict. We return only to claim our place as equals in the galaxy. We will live, explore, and grow. We will continue to learn and thrive. That is what humans do." Alex Turner spoke next. "You exiled us thinking it would weaken us. It did the opposite. We have grown stronger, more disciplined, and more united than ever. That is the lesson of humanity. We survive, we thrive, we adapt, we grow, and we do so on our own terms." John Carter looked at the council representatives and said, "You cannot control us. You cannot predict us. You cannot stop us. Humans will continue to grow, explore, and thrive with or without your permission. Today, we return not as victims of exile, but as a civilization that has chosen its own path." The council emissaries did not respond immediately. They whispered among themselves, realizing that the humans before them were not the same species they had exiled years ago. Humanity had changed. Humanity had grown. Humanity had proven that it could survive and thrive without interference. Meanwhile, the fleet's scouts reported more discoveries. New planets were suitable for colonization, asteroids rich in resources could be mined, and distant star systems offered opportunities for expansion. Humanity had prepared for this moment. Every ship, every crew member, every child trained in navigation and engineering contributed to the strength of the fleet. Claire White observed the activity from her ship's bridge. "They underestimated us. They always do," she said. "But we have learned. We have grown. And now we are stronger than they ever imagined." John Carter nodded. "Exile was meant to punish us. Instead, it made us stronger. They cannot take that away. They cannot undo what we have learned. Humanity will continue to grow, thrive, and explore. And we will do it on our own terms." As the fleet moved deeper into the inner systems, smaller civilizations began to recognize humanity's strength. They saw not a weak species, but a disciplined, intelligent, and capable civilization. Humans shared knowledge, helped build new colonies, and taught others how to survive in space. Humanity's return was not a threat. It was a demonstration of what a species could achieve when allowed to choose its own path. Alex Turner addressed the fleet. "We have returned. Not to conquer, not to fight, but to show that humans survive, thrive, and grow. Exile was never our end. It was our beginning. Today, we prove that humanity is a force to be reckoned with, not because of violence, but because of unity, discipline, and intelligence." John Carter looked at the people around him. Children floated in zero gravity, studying and learning. Adults worked tirelessly, improving systems, teaching, and guiding the next generation. Humanity had proven that it could survive anywhere, adapt to any challenge, and grow stronger every day. Lisa Brown spoke softly. "They cannot stop us, they cannot control us, and they cannot predict us. Humanity will continue to thrive, explore, and grow on our own terms." As the fleet moved through the stars, humanity's presence became undeniable. The Council, other civilizations, and smaller species all took notice. Humans had returned from exile not weakened, but stronger, wiser, and more capable than ever. They had survived, grown, and thrived. And so humanity continued its journey. Ships lifted from planets, colonies expanded, and fleets explored new systems. Children learned, adults taught, and the civilization grew stronger every day. Humans had returned from exile not as victims, but as a new power in the galaxy, disciplined, united, and unstoppable on their own terms. John Carter stood on the bridge of the lead ship, looking out at the stars. "We left Earth because we chose to," he said. "We survived because we worked together. And now we return not as exiles, but as a civilization that has claimed its place in the galaxy. That is humanity. That is what we do." Claire White, Alex Turner, Lisa Brown, and Maria Hill joined him. They looked at the fleet, the ships that carried millions, the colonies that had been built, and the children learning to navigate the stars. Humanity had returned stronger than ever. The galaxy had voted to exile Earth. Humanity had chosen to leave on its own terms. And now humanity had returned, not weakened, not afraid, but stronger, wiser, and ready to claim its place among the stars.